Hello, everyone. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism.
Here we go.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's podcast. We're happy to have you with us today, and we're going to share an update what's going on with the latest development with Bryce's seizures and abnormal activity on the EEG. We also have the upcoming MRI this week, and so we'll have results from that the next time we record. But we wanted to bring you up to date on that and then share some other things that are a little more lighthearted. But I will say that after having our conversation with, we actually had to talk to the nurse practitioner. The doctor was sick the day of our appointment, so that saved us a 4 hours in the car going to Orlando and back. I won't complain about that. But we did talk to the nurse practitioner, and she clarified a few more things for us, and we feel like we now have some options that may not require Bryce to be on seizure medication at this time. So I'll let you kind of take it from there, babe.
Yeah, so when I originally got the call from the nurse with the results, I was under the impression that he was having seizures, whether it was what she told me or what I assumed or what it sounded like, because she said there was abnormal activity and we should consider putting him back on seizure medication. And, well, when we talked to the nurse practitioner, with our appointment instead of the phone call, she said that there was abnormal activity while he's sleeping, but it didn't cross the threshold into a full-blown seizure. So he is having what they call spikes or sharps on the test intermittently throughout the night. So she didn't say exactly how many episodes there were, but
well, you ask, and the doctor didn't note how many, but he did say it happened as soon as he fell asleep, and it happened intermittently throughout the night.
Mm-hmm.
So it tells me it was more than once.
Yeah. So I had done a lot of research before our phone call with her, and so I had all my ducks in a row, and she was short and to the point in the beginning. She's like, I don't know if that's all you wanted to know or if you want to think about all this. And I'm like, no, I've got questions. So
she was great, and she answered them all. It was a 45-minute conversation. I felt like we weren't rushed at all. We were able to ask our questions. We were able to get a lot of answers.
Yeah, so here's some of the things that Bryce does that we're suspicious of. And some of the things he does is he can't remember what letters and numbers look like sometimes. So when I ask him to write a sentence or do a math problem, he'll ask me to write down the letter or number or sentence so that he can see it and copy it. He also grinds his teeth at night. He has poor short-term memory. Like if you ask him what he had for breakfast, he may or may not be able to tell you, or what he did yesterday. It's just, sometimes it's really poor. He has trouble putting faces with names, like people that he should know well. He doesn't recognize in pictures.
Or he will mistake someone else to be the person that he thinks he knows, which we've talked about that before too. Yeah,
so I mentioned those to the nurse, and she says, well, we can't be sure if that is from his stroke or from these spikes or something else. So I said, okay. So I asked her then, was there any video evidence of his seizures the abnormalities when he was sleeping? Because there was a video EEG, and she said there was no evidence, like he was not flinching.
That was one of my biggest questions that I wanted answered as well, was did they actually see any signs of seizure activity? And because they didn't, that made a big difference in the decision that we can make in regard to the medicine.
Mm-hmm. And then I asked her, should we do a 3 or a 5-day EEG after these findings to see if there's any additional activity in other parts of the brain or full-on seizures. And she said they don't usually do a 3 or 5-day EEG unless there is seizure activity picked up in the 24-hour EEG.
Right.
So full clinical seizures. I said, okay. I said, is there a way to tell from the upcoming MRI if there's brain inflammation or the exact cause of these abnormalities? And she says, well, what do you mean by inflammation? Like an infection in the brain? I said, well, inflammation is very common in autism, inflammation of the brain. And I said it might not be necessarily an infection. So she wasn't too sure on that topic. She's like, what, you mean like encephalitis? I'm like, I know, I don't think he has encephalitis, but, brain swelling, inflammation. Next, I asked her...
You got a lot of notes there, babe.
Yeah, what are we looking for in the MRI? And she says, well, we're looking for structural causes of the abnormality. So I guess they're looking for changes in the lobe structure from his abnormalities that are causing those, or from his original stroke. So that'll help us determine whether he goes on medication or not. I know hyperbaric oxygen chamber is kind of controversial treatments out there. It is something our MAPS doctor mentioned to us, and I ran that by her, and she says, well, we can't really endorse that, but we do have some parents doing it. That's probably like the AMA, the American Medical Association, probably doesn't allow them to recommend it. So they can't recommend it. Or if they recommend it and something happens, I don't know. Maybe
she had nothing negative to say. It was just something that she was familiar with.
And then I asked her about using CBD oil to help with the abnormalities. And she says, well, they do use it in conjunction with anti-seizure medications for severe cases. So but not in Bryce's case. And she said that it can help with behavior issues, and that when you use CBD like that, you have to have a blood draw every 3 to 4 months because of liver issues, I guess. So, and then I asked her about, well, what about neurofeedback training? Because one of our listeners wrote in and mentioned that. And she says, again, we can't recommend it, but we do have a few patients that are doing it. So she really couldn't elaborate on that. I asked her if he's okay riding on the horse, and she said, yes, that's fine. And then I said, well, if we put him on medication, how do we know if it's working? If we can't see anything on the outside that's happening that's not indicating anything. So she said, well, you might see improvements in cognition and behaviors. And I said, well, we're already seeing that with the supplements that he's on. And I wouldn't want to confuse that with a new medication being thrown into the mix. And she said, and well, you also don't want to hinder any progress that's already happening. So we agreed on that. And then I had done the research on medications that would be best for Bryce, and she listed 2, Tripitol and Lamictal. And Lamictal was one of the ones that I felt if we had to go on a medication that would be the one, because it has the most benefit with the least side effects. So I think at the end of the day, we talked it out. I even asked her, if this was your child, what would you do? And she said, well, I like to take a conservative approach, and I'd probably lean on the side of not giving him the medicine at this point. You'll just have to come back annually and do a follow-up EEG to make sure that it hasn't progressed into clinical seizures. And I said, okay. And I said, what about the upcoming MRI? She says, well, it's not likely that the MRI is going to show us anything that will lean us toward putting him on medication. But if it does show structural abnormalities, then we might consider it. So she didn't really elaborate on that.
No, but I asked her what we could expect to see with the MRI. And she said that if it's bright white, then that means that there's something fresh going on. But we should see just scar tissue that's kind of built up around the original bleed if nothing else new has developed structurally.
So she said it won't be as bright as it was when we first saw his first MRI when he was a baby.
So that's what we're hoping and praying for, is that we'll just see that the original bleed is protected with scar tissue and we won't see anything fresh or new that's happened. But we don't know. I mean, this is where I don't understand all of this, but I know it's very serious and the brain is very complicated as it is. And we know that his original bleed was in the area, what's it called? The
occipital lobe.
The occipital lobe, which affects vision and color. But we've talked about he really hasn't had any issues with that. However, he was a week old. So they told us his brain would rewire, and we really don't know how it rewired. Thank God it has, to the point that he has very good vision and he knows his colors. He seems to be well with that. I think maybe the most concerning thing that came out of this most recent phone conversation for me was that when the doctor reviewed the EEG from 4 years ago, that the activity that he had was in a different lobe and not the occipital lobe, which is where we thought everything was.
Well, she said that it was in an additional lobe.
So it's in the left parietal,
lobe.
Right. So now I'm looking at, okay, so he had activity 4 years ago in the left parietal lobe, and then now he has activity in his right temporal lobe. So it is concerning to me, naturally, that he keeps having things pop up in different areas.
Yeah. So the original two lobes, there wasn't any abnormal activity this time around.
Right.
And now we have a new lobe, the right temporal lobe. That's where the abnormal activity is
so it's
occurring.
Just kind of bizarre that it's going in different areas. And this area now, based on what you've looked up, is the most common with autism. And seeing that it's like has to do with memory and hearing and behavior and understanding language, that makes sense to me, because he does struggle with memory. And he has an amazing memory in some ways. And yet some of the more obvious things that we think he would be able to remember, he doesn't. His hearing, he's got sensory issues with his hearing, so that may be part of that. And then behavior-wise, I mean, he does have anxiety, which I mentioned to her, but it's not the debilitating kind. Like, he can leave the house, but right now he really doesn't want to sleep in his bed. And I think there's part of that because he likes to be with us, but I do think part of that is his anxiety that someone's going to take him. And he told me again this morning that, you know, he thanked me for letting him sleep in our room because he doesn't want to be lost. He doesn't want someone to take him. So,
and he mentioned that last night too, didn't he?
Yeah, he was saying something last night. He said this morning. So it's still very fresh. And he was looking at the window when he was telling me. So he just has this fear that someone's going to come in our window and take him. And I told him, has that ever happened? No. Okay, it's not going to happen. But, you know, he just has these.
I don't know how to respond to that.
I don't either, Siri, but I didn't think there was a phone in here.
Why is Siri even here?
I didn't bring my phone, so I don't know. That was weird. Okay, maybe he should be a little scared. Because
I'm scared right now.
I'm scared. Okay, so anyway, we just heard Siri, but we have no phones in here that we know of. And then understanding language, he does get a lot of things backwards still, like his pronouns and mommy and daddy, just a lot of things that he still kind of trips up with his language. And so maybe it has to do with that. I don't know. But she did say we can take the 1 year EEG approach and then just very closely, vigilantly monitor his behaviors and make sure that we're not seeing anything, and to let his therapy team know as well so that they know what to look for. Even though it's only been in sleep that we know of, we just have to be conscientious that he's not regressing at all. And she said if we see any regression of any kind,
like
then we need to go back in. Yeah.
Behaviors
that are unusual. If he loses any words or language, then he could be seizing and we would have to revisit it. But if not, then we could go for another year. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I asked her if there's any, is there any brain damage from this? Like these abnormalities or these spikes? And she said no. So I felt really good about that answer.
I did too. I felt at the end of the conversation, it was definitely more hopeful and encouraging than we anticipated, by saying they didn't actually see him having any seizures, which was a big question for me because they did the video monitor this time. When we did this 4 years ago, we came home and he wore it
in a backpack
for 3 nights, and nobody was videotaping it. And they asked us to mark something if we saw something. Well, even if he was having night seizures, then we would have never seen anything to point out to them. And I know you said that they probably had a machine that could pick up on it, but I don't know how that works. If, I don't know how thorough that really was 4 years ago.
Right.
The great news is that he has continued to progress, and we haven't seen anything that was flagging us for seizures, something just doing our due diligence because of his history. But I'm so glad we did, because now we're not on the 4-year plan. We're on the 1-year plan just to make sure as he continues to develop that there aren't going to be more issues, seizure-wise, because he's definitely a candidate.
Yeah, and the likelihood as he gets older is even more.
I'm prepared for that, but here's what I feel like. That conversation was great in the sense that you had already had time to do some research. We came back on the same page that, okay, if something were to happen, let's just say it does, we already know what medication we want to put him on. We already have the plan in place. It won't be such a shock because now we kind of been brought up to speed. Wow, this really could happen again. And if it does, this is what we'll do. So, that's the good that came out of all of this.
Yep.
Hopefully, prayerfully, after Friday's MRI and we get those results, we'll feel very comfortable moving forward to next February.
Yeah.
So that's the update there. And
so, I mean, that went as good as could be expected,
me
I
too.
think. So we went into there thinking he was having seizures throughout the night, and I could hardly sleep, next to him, knowing that. And that's one of the reasons why he's been in our bedroom, is because
it is.
I just wanted to be close to him. I don't know why. I'd hate to think he was in his bedroom all the way across the house and having seizures, and I don't know.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah. So I just want to mention one thing that we've tried recently with Bryce. Have we ever talked about brushing his teeth?
I can't remember if we did or not. I don't think so, because I still have it on my notes, and this is part of teaching him independence. So take that, because that's a big one.
Yeah. So we, Bryce is 8 years old now. And so we got this new toothbrush because we were having trouble with him brushing. Like, he would brush his teeth, but he wouldn't get all of his teeth, and he wouldn't brush for very long. It was like all he could do to get it done and then get out. So I started researching new toothbrushes. I thought, well, if he's not going to brush for very long, he should have one of those electric toothbrushes that at least does a better job than the manual toothbrush.
And he used to have one.
Yeah, a little battery-powered thing, and it was spinning around or whatever.
But you found the winner, so go ahead.
So, yeah, it was from Sonicare. I found the winner. I can't remember the name of it, but it's really the only one that they have for kids that has an app. So we installed the app on his iPad. This fun little character pops up on his iPad, and the iPad connects to the toothbrush by Bluetooth. So when he turns the toothbrush on, the little character wakes up or whatever, and he coaches him through brushing, and it shows Bryce where the brush is in his mouth according to the position that the toothbrush is in. So he's encouraging, get those germs, get that plaque. It's right over here. Go around back. I just made that up.
Yes, he's like cheering him on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then at the end, this little prize box, you get a little present and you open it up and it might be, funny looking ears or glasses or a hat that you can put on your character. And he just loves it.
He does.
And
go ahead.
So they start you out. I want to say it's like 30 seconds that you're brushing, right? So, and they coach him through it. And as he goes through the program, it goes longer and longer and longer to where he's not even noticing that he's finally brushing for a full 2 minutes. And so we're into this routine now, morning and night. He gets these little prizes for brushing, and he looks forward to it, and he gets a little sad if he misses it. So that has fixed all of our brushing problems.
It has, and that's really part of us teaching him independence, because I've been saying, I want him to learn he needs to brush his teeth without us telling him that he needs to brush his teeth, right? And so you got this, and now he was saying, oh, I need to brush my teeth. And he actually forgot yesterday morning. And we had music therapy followed by equine therapy, and it was like boom, 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 right? So we didn't remind him. We got breakfast in him, but then Mr. Tom came right when he finished breakfast, so he didn't brush his teeth after. So we were driving back from equine therapy, and he goes, oh, no, I didn't brush my teeth. I said, that's okay, buddy. We'll brush them when we go in. No, it's after 12 o'clock p.m. It won't count for morning.
That's right.
Because it was 1:30, so I was like, I was hoping he wouldn't have a meltdown, which he didn't. But that could have. So he was like, oh, no. I said, that's okay. You can brush them tonight. And if you miss one time, it's okay. But he really gets it.
I'm so happy we're not having meltdowns anymore.
And
I mean,
those are so far and few between.
It's in the rear view mirror.
We have, right now, praise God, don't jinx ourselves. But a smoke alarm went off the other night during dinner. I wasn't cooking, I have to say, because normally it would be me. But something triggered it off. But my point is that Bryce didn't fall, and then he was proud of himself. And he pointed out to us, I didn't fall.
Yeah.
I didn't fall. I did something else. And he pointed to his game. I played my game and I didn't fall. So he knew, but he knew to distract himself. And that's him learning how to manage his emotions and that sort of thing.
And we told him while it was going off that he could go to the other room, but he chose not to. So I think he put his ears over his hands over his ears at one point, but
he didn't.
But he handled it very
he
well.
did. So that was really great. So that's really great. We're teaching him more and more to dress himself. And he's getting better at doing it correctly. I mean, sometimes he'll put his shirt on backwards, like his pajamas, and he says, well, I like it. I said, well, if you like it, then I don't care. I mean, it's nighttime. I'll correct you during the day, but he's really getting good at that. And then sometimes he'll leave his clothes on the floor when he gets dressed in the morning. So I showed him, part of getting dressed is finishing the job, and we have to take the dirty clothes, and where do they go? And then I helped him, led him to the hamper, which is, we don't have one in his room. We just have one in the house because that's the way we roll. So, yeah. But he can walk all the way over there and put him in there, and that's good for him. And so he does, and he understands that's part of it. And in fact, when he's brushing his teeth at night, you have also made the challenge that you have to clean everything up. And then Chris is the inspector afterwards.
Yeah, he kind of came up with that on his own. I was like, Bryce, did you put everything away? And I think one time he said yes or something. And I said, okay, I'm going to go check. And he's like, no, wait. It's a quiz. I was like, yeah, I hope you passed the quiz. So he ran back into the bathroom and he put everything back. And then I went in and everything was good. I was like, okay, you passed the quiz. And then that's been our routine.
It's been
now.
a little routine,
So-
but it helps him clean everything
and it
up.
helps him remember to do
Yeah,
that.
it does. And then eating at dinner time, we've had his ABA tech here with us, Miss Melanie, for some dinners. And she even drew him this little sign that says, use your fork and your spoon, and a little funny thing. But he has gotten better with that because his natural instinct is to treat everything like a finger food, which is easier for him. But A, it's not appropriate. And B, it's not always the best way to eat in
Right.
general, whether somebody's there or not. So it's not easy for him, but it is getting better. And that's something we just want to continue to work on and teach him. And then the showering and his bath, he's getting better at that, and then even like getting his own snacks and getting his drink or his crushed ice. He's really into crushed ice right now. Must be that sensory feedback. But, that's better. And I've moved his snacks and his cup to where he can reach it because he's quite a bit taller now. And then when he wants me to do it for him, if it's something that I feel he's fully capable of doing and should be doing, then I'll just remind him in a nice way. But, oh, Bryce, you're 8 years old now. You need to do that by yourself. But if I can't help, if you need help, then I'll help you.
I think, because of autism, we got so used to helping him all the time that once he reached certain points where he could start doing things himself, we didn't realize it. And so we just kept doing it for him, either out of time management.
Correct.
Or just wanting to help him.
Convenient, yeah.
And so now we're just kind of,
We're catching ourselves.
Yeah, he
Like,
can do that by himself.
Nope, you need to do that by yourself. Yeah, but
so.
and we'll just tell him you're 8 years old, and we make it like a promotion thing, and it's a big deal, and you're a big boy. And then when he does do something by himself, he's so proud of himself. And then of course we praise him. Yep. So, one thing I added on here for teaching independence is that we've been teaching him to pray for other people. And eventually we would love for him to learn that he can independently pray to God anytime that he needs to. And I've heard him stop and do prayers like if somebody's hurt or if he needs something. But the other night when he prayed, I asked him if he wanted to pray for someone. And we'll ask, he'll pray for Papa. And we have some other family that he's been praying for that's sick. And so we said, do you want to pray? And he prayed for himself, but he prayed the prayer that I normally pray with him. But for the first time, he added his own thought, which is huge for him. And so he prayed, for him to the angels to protect him and everything that I normally say. And then he said, and help me, God, not to be scared at therapy tomorrow. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. So first I was going, wow. He added his own thought, but then we're like, wow, why are you scared at therapy? But it really wasn't the people or anything. What did he say he was scared about? I'm not going to expect you to remember.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it just had to do with if he would do okay. He's very worried about failing things right now. And I've also noticed that he apologizes for lots of stuff now. And if he doesn't poop every day because we made that such a big deal, he'll apologize and say, I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry I couldn't poop today.
And we're like,
it's okay. And he'll say, it's my fault. It's my fault. And I'm not even sure where he's heard all of these apologies and it's my fault because I don't know. He's heard it and picked it up somewhere. But I don't want him to constantly feel like he's having to be apologetic for things that he doesn't need to apologize for.
I think it's part of his anxiety.
I think it is as well. But yeah, I loved that about the prayer. And so this other little cute story I'm going to share with him. Talk about prayer and worship. So Bryce has been listening to worship music in my car with me. Sorry, I got a little something going on with my throat here. And so we've been listening to the worship music, and I have a Hillsong CD. And so it was right after we went to church last Sunday, and they did worship in the studio with the kids because he went in there last week. Or no, anyway, he was talking about worship. So he says, Mommy, when did we experience worship. I'm like, well, we had it at church on Sunday. No, when we went there. Remember? I remember when we went and we experienced worship. I'm like, where were we? And he says, and I had the guns and I was pretending to shoot. I'm like, worship? And then I was like, oh, worship. Okay, we went on that worship over in Tampa.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so cute. So
funny.
then I'm like, oh, okay. And then I explained, and I got a pen and paper, and I wrote out the singular word worship with an O, and then I spelled out worship with an A, and I explained the difference. But it was so cute, and he really had me thinking, like, what do you mean we experienced it? And then when he said guns, I'm like, guns? Worship? What? Anyway, it was pretty funny. Super cute. Super cute. But, and then this morning he said something that was super sweet. So I just wanted to share that. I shared it with you because you were in the other room. And Bryce, he does love my face. And he loves to feel my face with his hands. He loves to kiss on my face, all over it. He says that I have a very comfortable face, which I think means it's smooth. And because you have like a little goatee, yours isn't as smooth as mine. So he'll say, Mommy, your face is so comfortable. But this morning he says, I love you, Mommy. And he's kissing my face. And he says, I love to put my lips on your face. And he says, I can feel love. I can feel it in my heart.
Yep.
I said, you can. He goes, I can feel it in my heart. Now my heart, he just melts me. I was like, oh my goodness, So I can still remember that first time I heard I love you for the first time. And now I hear, how much he loves to kiss me, and he can feel it in his heart. Because I will ask him, do you feel loved? Can you feel my love? Yes. Do you feel it in your heart? But he said today, I feel it in my heart. I'm like, oh, so
Special moments.
Super sweet stuff. And, that's kind of what's been going on in our world.
Tonight, him and I are going camping.
Yeah, you are.
At an actual campsite.
It was so funny yesterday. He told Mr. Tom, who's his music therapist, Chris says, yeah, we're going camping. And he goes, where are you going? Chris goes, he goes, in your backyard? Because the boys did that before. And you said, no, we're doing real camping at a campsite. Real camping. And Bryce goes, well, what's fake camping? It's so cute. Mr. Tom's like, well, I do fake camping. Fake camping is in your RV. Yeah, motorhome. But anyway.
I said, we're going in a tent.
Yeah. And so now Bryce will tell you real camping is in a tent. He knows.
And he's excited.
Yeah.
So.
And Mommy doesn't do real camping.
No.
So Mommy does fake camping.
Mommy's staying home. And
yes.
Bryce and I are going camping. So
yeah.
it'll be fun.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
And we're in South Florida, so it won't be too cold. What's it supposed to get down to tonight? In 65, the 60s, right?
I think, yeah. The humidity is going to be a killer, though. It's like 80% humidity tonight. I'm like, ugh.
Here we are in February.
Sticky.
Well, you're not going to get any much better weather than this. So it'll be fun.
It will be fun.
I'm excited for you guys. Well, is there anything else we want to bring up today? Or you feel like, I have a couple verses to share.
Yeah.
If we're going to wrap up. So I'm going through some other hardships right now with our family, which I really don't want to talk about on the air, but it's stuff that I'm just really seeking the Lord a lot in the morning for his guidance. And so this morning he gave me 2 verses, and I think this really applies to our parenting autism journey as well. Mm-hmm. So I felt like I wanted to share those. And if it speaks to our listeners, for me, I have been feeling the Holy Spirit like prompting me to take pen and paper. So I've got a set of index cards in my desk. So if something really speaks to me and there's a verse, I will immediately take it and write it out and keep it out for the week. So it's my little encouragement for the week. But this morning I wrote out Colossians 3:15. The peace that Christ gives us to guide you in the decisions you make. The peace that Christ gives us is to guide you in the decisions that you make. And we are making a lot of decisions right now. We're making these decisions about Bryce's seizure medication and what we do with that. And then on the heels of that, he gave me another verse that said Psalm 73:24. You guide me with your instruction, and at the end, you will receive me with honor. So it was like 2 different verses today talking about guidance and guiding me. And I have been praying, Lord, give me wisdom, guide me what to do, guide me where to go, guide me what to say. We have a lot of those prayers on this parenting autism journey, as I'm sure our listeners can relate to. And we've heard from a couple of listeners in the past week that are also, fellow Christians as well, that we have that connection as well. And, I'm so glad to know that our willingness and God's calling for us to share our journey is helping so many families. And in fact, I had another family that reached out to me that I've been encouraging them for the past several months because there was depression in their home. I mean, like the debilitating kind. And then I got a message that they're out on a family vacation right now. And I was like, praise Jesus that he is no longer feeling trapped in his home and he's out there with his family and enjoying this world. And oh my goodness, that makes my heart so happy. And it's encouraging for me. And I know you find it encouraging for you. And I hope it's encouraging for other listeners that we're all here for each other. And when we hear from you, it encourages us as much as you hearing from us in this format. So we want to encourage you guys to continue to reach out to us as you share stuff with us. I know you had a listener, I think she was from Australia, right? And she was sharing a lot of her experience with you with some of the more natural, holistic approaches. And that's great.
Yeah, she shared a very detailed email with me, and I appreciated that because I could immediately tell where she was coming from. And
I know. I said, y'all could be such good friends. It was like a foreign language for me because that's what you really handle so much of that. And I was saying, like, if we were doing a comparison, I am like maybe my 2-year to 4-year degree in college, where you're like in your master's going for your doctorate when it comes to studying all this stuff. We have different ways that we learn about things,
right?
But you go much deeper than I do, and it's great. It pays benefits for our son, and I appreciate that.
I like going into a doctor's office ready with questions and kind of almost knowing the answers,
Yeah, feeling like you or know what you're going to anticipate to hear.
Yeah, and I don't like going in not knowing what to expect and then coming out saying, what did I just hear? What did all that mean?
Right.
It's much harder to do that way for me, and then to go in knowing what I need to know and have an intelligent conversation with the doctor.
Well, I think you doing as much research as you did on this whole seizure situation helped. This 45 minutes was not a waste at all. It felt like
that's how long we talked to the doctor.
Yeah, and it was wonderful.
Minutes,
and I felt like when we hung up, we were both like, yes, we got answers. It was what we wanted. We landed on the same page. But your preparation, and I had it's so funny, you're asking question after question. And finally I'm like, and I might have some questions. He goes, oh yeah, my wife might have questions too. But, I only had a couple, but they were kind of coming. I was listening to yours and so we're a team. Team culture. Yeah. So it's good.
And if you guys haven't checked out our YouTube channel yet, it's Parenting Autism. If you didn't know.
I think there's others on there, so you might want to even type in the name Bryce. But if you really want to find us,
you'll see our logo.
If you put Parenting Autism and put the dentist, that's our most popular video.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll take you to our channel, and then you can subscribe. I will tell you that Bryce is very excited to start doing some more videos, and it won't just be us videoing him. We had mentioned before that he did his first hotel tour. What's a big deal for him. And so he has to go do this MRI on Friday. So I wanted to do something special for him. And I had a free night from Marriott. So we were able to get one of the nice tall hotels, because Bryce is all about the higher the floor, the better it is. So we're going to be staying at the AC Hotel, the Marriott Hotel in downtown Orlando. And Bryce is going to be doing a video tour of that. So we're pretty excited about it. And if your kiddos like to watch the 2 YouTube videos like our Bryce does, then you're going to know that you can get some nice, clean videos for them to watch on our channel.
We uploaded a couple recently, so we're going to continue to do that. And also please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. So like if you have your phone now and you go into your podcast app and you see our show, if you scroll down to where it says write a review, we'd love for you to do that. And that just encourages us to keep on trucking.
It encourages us, but it also helps other listeners find us, just like you found us. So we would appreciate that. And I think we'll wrap it up now.
Thanks for listening.
Okay. And we'll catch you again
After
soon.
the MRI, probably.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. We'll be back in a couple weeks with
right.
more updates. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.